I'm chatting with Maisie Peters, our current Apple Music Up Next artist.
So crazy. It's so crazy. Yeah.
You're joining the ranks of so many people. Arlo Parks, Giveon, Holly Humberstone. I mean, even Billie Eilish, most recently Amorphous. What does this mean to you to be recognized? Because I think this is actually one of my favorite things we do on Apple Music is really get behind artists that we truly believe in and give them a platform to be able to really tell their story.
I mean, I remember watching Billie Eilish's Up Next. It was so powerful. And so to sort of do the same thing for my own music all these years later and get to work with you guys and it was amazing because I took the guys around the studio, I wrote all the album and I took them around my house, around my bedroom. I spoke about my family, my sister got interviewed, and it's just like such a cool opportunity to get to bring everyone like so into my world.
You were writing your debut album and then also writing an original soundtrack for Apple TV Plus's Trying Season 2. I mean, you have just been so busy. How was it kind of working on both of those simultaneously? Because I feel like for a debut album, you have all of your work, right, as an artist kind of ever to comb through, to continue to write. But then, how do you differentiate writing for a soundtrack, because it's obviously something completely different.
For sure. It was a very chaotic time because I was doing both at the same time. But the soundtrack, there was the very different processes, I guess. The soundtrack was I was so immersed in that universe and it was season 2. So I got to watch the first season. I got to talk really in depth with the director and I got to read all the scripts. And so as much as, because of the way I write naturally, a lot of those songs have a lot of pieces of me and my story and, my life in them. They were also really heavily inspired by that universe of that TV show and the characters and the writing, the script writing was amazing. It was nice to step away from myself a little bit for that. Whereas for the album, I very much stepped towards myself and, was writing very personally and very much, I joked that if you cut me, I would bleed MP1. I would bleed that first album.
If we go back to 2018 and you had your debut track, which is called Worst of You, just what you've grown in the last, few years, when you think about that track and kind of being a big breakout moment for you, what are the thoughts that come to mind?
I remember writing it and thinking, not that much of it. I remember saying to my manager, I was kind of disappointed. I felt like I hadn't done as well as I could have done in that session.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it went on to do what it did and it's been such a big part of people's lives, I think, it's really crazy to me because it's a song that I wrote one day and it's gone on to do that. And I would have never predicted that for that song ever.
There's just nothing like a debut album, your first official body of work. What was it like, by the way, deciding on where you wanted to take this actual debut album? Because you've been writing for so long and you've put out EPs, but it's almost your entire life's collection and work and things that you could pull from, obviously writing new music as well. But how do you even begin?
There was challenging parts to it for sure. There is with everything. But for the most part, I think I was very focused on what needed to be done. And I was actually really quite clear on where I was heading and what I wanted to sound like. I think once I sort of got the first half done, which I did in a month, I went to Suffolk in summer of 2020 and I sort of did half of the album there over a month. And then probably a quarter of the album already existed, but from songs from before, but they just weren't sort of produced up and sang again, but they were demos. And then the other quarter I did sort of in the months afterwards. But I think once I sort of got that half and I got a couple key songs that I feel really set the mood for the album, which stuff like Loved and I Don't is a song on the album that I feel was really important. Volcano was really important. John Hughes movie, once that was finished, was really important. And yeah, I think that once I sort of done that, I was then very clearly focused and sighted on where it needs to go.
Yeah. So you were recently signed to Ed Sheeran's and Gingerbread Man Records. First of all, I mean, getting to write with Ed Sheeran, getting that co-sign from Ed and also Ed being I need Maisie Peters on my label. First of all, what was that experience like?
One thing that I always want to say about Ed is that for someone who's been so successful, he's really so keen to make sure that if he's writing for me, it's my story and my words and the song that I want to write is written. And I think that's so cool. And with Ed, it's just such a fun time. I think we work very similarly. So I think we're both speed demons.
Right.
When we wrote Psycho, we wrote 2 other songs that day and we finished at 5. So like, I don't even know. It's
Clocked out for the day.
it was so much. I remember walking home and being like, I feel like I've just like, I'm coming off drugs or something. Like it was so insane.
When we're talking about the track Psycho, which is the latest from the album, how did the songwriting process behind this one even begin?
I was talking to Ed before the session about life and what was going on, and I was throwing some lyric ideas his way, and we were talking about the song. I had this concept of like, you thought I was crazy about you then, well, like, look how crazy I can get now. And I think I threw around the title of like, so we were throwing around the word psycho, and Ed was like, oh, that's like a really good song title, and I was like, yeah, I agree. And then a couple of days later, probably, we went in with Steve, and Steve had this synth line already going, the do 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 do, because he's a genius. And we really just wrote the song from there, and it was so quick. It was super, super, super quick. I remember thinking like, oh my God, I've like kind of created a monster.
When you think about your debut album, what is the one thing that you kind of are most proud of?
I'm really proud of the fact that I've managed to like not only create this album that I love, but do it on my own terms, but also do it with these people that I signed up with, and the fact, I joke with one of my A&Rs at my record label, Paul. He joked, he was like, Maisie, we made 2 albums this year, what with the soundtrack, and we're all still friends. And I was like, I know. Music making can be stressful and it can be difficult, and I'm really proud of the fact that I made this album on my own terms, and I love it so much. And I did it as like a young woman, like making pop music, like signed to a major label. And I think it's really cool. There's lots of tales of people falling out, and I get it. It's easy to fall out. It really is. I'm completely there. But I'm proud of the fact that we all managed. So many people were so important in making this album. And I really think that we all made something really great together, and that we're all really proud of it.